Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thank you to those who are tuned in and who've been tuned in the past. Can't have a podcast without an audience. And thank you to those who have subscribed. Having a loyal base of listeners is great. If you're not yet subscribed, please do so. When you subscribe, you ensure that you get every episode as we release them. And thank you to those who have referred others to the podcast. That really helps build the base of listeners and subscribers beyond those that we already have. Finally, thanks to those who have reached out with questions and comments. Those are very, very helpful in planning future topics and guests. Today, I want to talk about referrals. As we've talked about referrals on this program before, and lots of different episodes and taken different angles on it. Today, I want to talk about 30-second stories. To get referrals, to get great referrals, others need to not just know you, like you, and trust you. If you remember, there are 3 reasons why you don't get referrals. People don't have a relationship. They don't know, like, and trust you. And the second is that you haven't empowered them with the ability to recognize opportunities for you. And then the third thing, they're not able to talk about you on your behalf for some reason or another. But it's that middle one, that I find that trips people up more than anything, the inability of people to recognize opportunities for you. And so for others to give you great referrals, they need to more than just know, like, and trust you, but they also need to be able to recognize opportunities for you. So let me give you an example. Here's something going back into what we'll call the Frank Agin archives. For those who don't know, when I was first getting started out in what is now AmSpirit Business Connections, I was just a member before I became its first franchisee and then ultimately bought it out and rebranded it as AmSpirit. But I was just a member, and I struggled at first. I struggled to try and figure it out. I figured, okay, I've joined, pay my money, I've come every week. People know, like, and trust me. I should be getting referrals, but I had a commercial that sounded much like this. My name's Frank Agin. I'm an attorney. Good referrals for me? Duh. Business types who need representation. Or maybe they're looking to buy something, or they've received a summons from a governmental authority. When it comes to business law, I can handle it all. I never said the last part of it, but I see people who have these cute little sayings like somehow or another that creates recognition, and it really doesn't. It's cute, people laugh, people smile, but people are just as ignorant without it. With it or without it, I should say. And so what came from that commercial for me? A whole lot of nothing. Bad referrals at best, because I didn't really empower people with how to find or recognize referrals for me. I talked a lot about what I do. I didn't really talk about when I do it. So again, to get great referrals, others must be able to recognize opportunities for you. And that's key to getting referrals, because they might be sitting next to somebody at a ball game and they know, like, and trust you, but they're not recognizing that they're the person they're out at the ball game with or out shopping with or doing whatever with, a client they're meeting with, could be a good referral for you. So you need to really kind of educate them on what to look for. Now, thoughts on recognition points. Here's some thoughts on recognition points. 1, be specific. When you start using terms like anyone, anybody, someone, those all equal no one. The way the human mind works, when you say somebody or anyone or anybody, the human mind really doesn't have anything to latch on. Anybody is a good referral for me. Anybody with a back, a chiropractor might say. Anybody who's looking to retire, a financial advisor might say. Those anybody type statements are not specific. You need to try and be specific with respect to what you're saying. Chiropractor's better off saying, hey, somebody who's a weekend warrior. That would be a good referral for me. or a financial advisor, someone you know who's just turned 50 might be a good person to refer to me. So first thing, specific. Second thing is simple. Avoid the jargon. Avoid jargon. Avoid trying to highbrow speak, as you put it. Jargon is simply terminology that you might use in your industry. And I think every profession, I'm not going to pick on any, well, I will pick on some, but it's pervasive in really every industry. We all have our own language. We speak English, but we have our own language. The legal profession, we speak English, but there are terms out there that people may not understand. Summary judgment, res ipsa, start throwing Latin in there. And so you need to kind of avoid that jargon. Realtors fall into that too. They go to their offices and they talk real estate and they talk about all these real estate terms, and then when they get out there and look for referrals, they just continue to use those terms, and people don't know what they're all about. And the wonderful thing about people in the business world, you probably know this, is for the most part they're really, really nice. It's hard to be a business person and everybody's nice because we all know that we're kind of playing a difficult game. But the bad thing about the business world is that people are really nice. And you might use jargon, you might use highbrow speak. And what I mean by highbrow speak, something that you try to sound really intelligent, and people don't know what you're saying. Wow, he sounds intelligent. I don't know what he's saying, though. People aren't going to say, oh, I don't understand, because they're really nice. They don't want to look dumb. They don't want to make you look dumb. And so you need to be simple with things. Third thing I'll say, okay, be specific, keep it simple. Third thing, bite size. Stick to one thought. Pick on handymen, for example. Handymen will talk about all the things they do. They fix faucets, screen doors, replace windows, light bulbs, light switches, and they'll just start throwing out a litany of all sorts of stuff that they do. And the way the human mind works is it kind of goes through what I'll call a mental Rolodex. You mention, hey, I help people fix screen doors. All of a sudden your mind goes through the Rolodex, who do I know has a screen door? When have I encountered somebody's got an issue with the screen door? And the second that the handy person, the second that they throw out a second topic, your mind starts back through that Rolodex. So it never really kind of completes through it. Bite-sized thoughts. Talk about one thing. This is kind of the flavor of the day. You don't throw a litany of things at people. This is especially true in organizations like AmSpirit Business Connections, where you're meeting every week with the same people. There's absolutely no reason why you need to come up with a litany of different things to say each week. You just need to have one simple thought, one bite-sized thought. The flavor of today are retirement plans. Let me talk about retirement plans. Come back next week. Financial planner is going to talk about saving for college education. Then the next week is going to be talking about whatever else it might be. Diversifying your portfolio, people who need to diversify. Or another one might be just on getting started. So there's a whole litany of different things that somebody could talk about. Talk about one thing. And then the last thing is be descriptive. Be descriptive. Our minds hang on to pictures. It doesn't hang on to abstract concepts as well. It hangs on to pictures. So you paint a clear, vivid picture of the type of person that you're looking for. That's the best way to educate somebody. So when they see that or something akin to it, they're going to think about you. So it needs to be this picture within their mind that they need to kind of grasp onto. Now, the best recognition points are the ones you can likely know, see, or hear. Okay, here's an example. Refer me to someone whose 3 cute toddlers are now feisty teens overrunning the once quaint ranch home. That paints a picture for me. I picture these toddlers growing up to be teens, cute little toddlers, 3 little toddlers growing up to be these teens that have kind of overrun a house, taken it over with their stuff and just lying around with their friends. And that paints a picture for me. And it's something that I would likely know, see, or hear from somebody. Somebody talking about, oh my gosh, my kids are driving me crazy. They're they're at home and all their stuff and their equipment. I'll hear that. I might see it if I go visit somebody. I might know it if I've got, who do I, again, that mental Rolodex. Oh my gosh, I do have a friend. They're in the same house that they bought when they first got married, and now their kids are all teenage years. That's got to be tough. So that would get me thinking about them. Some of the worst recognition points are the ones that are likely only thought in someone's mind. Here's an example. Refer me to that person who's thinking about moving to a bigger home. Now, I wouldn't know what somebody's thinking. Now, in the first example, if I knew they had 3 teens and they were kind of outgrowing stuff, okay, that's something I can see, I can know, I can hear. But when you say somebody who's thinking about, moving, I don't know what somebody's thinking. I don't know if somebody's thinking about retirement. I don't know if somebody's concerned about their retirement. Those are things that are in people's heads. Sure, certainly those things can come out in conversation, but it's less likely for me to know what somebody is thinking. So you want to have your recognition points, things that are likely to be seen, known, or heard, and not things that just get caught up in people's mind. Now, to accomplish all of these things, to accomplish all the things such as being specific, simple, bite-sized, descriptive, things that can be known, seen, or heard, what I recommend is using what's called a 30-second story. And briefly, what a 30-second story is in 30 seconds, tell a quick story to somebody as to things you're working on. Now, I've got some 30-second stories that people have provided me via AmSpirit Business Connections. We were doing an exercise in a chapter, and I had people come up with 30-second stories. And you do need to do some pre-planning on this and think about, okay, what is it? You can't be getting into all sorts of details. But you can come up with really quick 30-second stories that keep people thinking. For example, here's one that a financial advisor gave. I'm currently working with a woman in her early 60s who recently lost her job due to COVID. She met with me to help her with an earlier than expected retirement plan. That gets me thinking, okay, who do I know who's at that age, maybe losing their job, or maybe they're not working as much, or maybe it's just a good opportunity to stop and look at things. Stock market's generally doing pretty well at this point in time. Maybe they have enough. Maybe they have enough, and maybe it's a good time to meet with a financial advisor. So that kind of paints a story for me of something other than somebody with a big pile of money looking for a financial advisor. Here's something that a moving and relocation specialist provided as far as a story. We're in the process of moving a family who's building a new home. There are several steps or stages to this move, as some items are going into storage in our warehouse, some items are going to a storage unit that their company has, and some are going to their apartment. Once their house is finished, we pick up items from all 3 places, including a baby grand piano and a large gun safe. Now that tells me various things. It tells me that this moving company is flexible. They're going to help people with all sorts of options. It's not moving. We think about moves. We think about things going from point A to point B, and there's not a lot of complication to that. And what this person's saying is, yeah, there is complication. A lot of times people do move, they sell their house while they're building, and they need to have kind of that intermediary step, and we never really think about that. But now through this story, it's kind of painted this picture that, there is an intermediate step there, and when I hear that somebody is moving and they got to move into an apartment, I'm going to be thinking, okay, how are you handling that? How is that all coming about? And I can have a conversation with them, and the moving specialist is on my mind. Here's another story that a life and health insurance person provided. I'm working with a 30-person employer that placed all their eggs in one basket. That is, one company was doing everything: benefits, payroll, HR, and doing none of it well. This is often the case where a company will do all things, and it creates several opportunities. I'm focused on the benefits, and they're sourcing other professionals for the remaining categories. And again, it's helping people try to. This paints a picture for me of a situation where I know a company is just using one provider. It's something. It may not be readily seen, heard, as I might like, but it's certainly something I get my head around. Or a residential realtor shared, I worked with someone who was experiencing some health issues that was impairing their ability to enjoy their home. We not only sold his split level, but helped him find a ranch home that he can enjoy for years. Now, what that story did was it painted a picture for me that, you know what, I didn't realize this, but when I should have realized it, but when people get older in years, they want to stay in their home or want to stay in a home and not go to a nursing home or something like that, a retirement community, they would like to have a ranch. They don't want to deal with the stairs. And now when I drive down my street or drive down any street, I look at homes and say, okay, you know what? There's a couple right there that probably are lamenting the fact that they've got this, 3-story home. Or here's a couple right there. They're going to be fine as they age because it's kind of a ranch and they're not going to have to deal with steps. So it kind of paints a picture for me in my mind. And then the last one, a commercial lender provided was, I'm currently helping another business who wants to buy a $2.5 or $2.1 million dollar property in St. Croix for board retreats and rental use. Well, we don't lend in the Virgin Islands directly, but our bank is always looking for ways to say yes and think outside the box. So they're allowing us to secure the loan using a couple of this person's property as collateral. Again, kind of telling a story. It's kind of a unique sort of a situation, and through that unique sort of a situation, this company is trying to be flexible. So the point I want to make through all this thing is simply this. To get referrals, you can't just be known, liked, and trusted, but you also need to be able to educate people on what to look for, what to listen for, because those are, what to know. Those are the things that will help them generate referrals. Don't make it vague. Don't make it vague. Don't speak. Be specific. Don't speak in anybody language, because that equals no one. Keep it simple. No jargon. No highbrow speak. Bite-sized things. In each one of these things, they were talking about one thing. We weren't talking about all the things they do. They were really talking about one thing that they do. And then be specific, and be descriptive. And that's what the stories do. The stories allow you to be descriptive. And you'd be amazed what you can pack into 30, 45 seconds with a little bit of planning. I'm not saying off the cuff that you can come up with something, but as you work through the day, as you work through your week, stop and think about the things that you're encountering. And every person who sells a house, it's a different situation. Every mortgage lender, it's a different situation. And those are all great stories that you can craft into a 30-second commercial. And then those 30-second stories help people be better at recognizing opportunities. To close, if you know of an entrepreneur, business owner, or professional that seems to enjoy networking and they appear well connected, maybe they're involved with the chamber or a networking organization such as AmSpirit, they would be a good person for me to meet. As you know, being networked is vital to success, and receiving referrals is the most effective means of generating business. So if you know of such a person, work into the conversation this rhetorical question: if you had a choice, would you rather be a renter or the person who owns the building? Now, they'll probably chuckle at the question and indicate that somehow they would obviously like to own the building rather than being the poor SOB who is paying the rent. When they do, indicate that you're familiar with the franchise opportunity through AmSpirit Business Connections, where they're not just paying to be part of a networking organization, but rather they're instrumental in building professional networking groups and profiting from them. From there, suggest they contact me using the email we provide at the end of the program, or the one in our show notes, or better yet, if you would email them and copy me on that email, that will introduce connect the two of us. That would be wonderful. I would really appreciate that.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connections. All rights reserved.